Guess what's here? The Numb and Dumb shirt. I'm so excited for it. I can't wait to get my Numb and Dumb shirt. If you want one too, go to birbirbird.com and click the shop tab and get yourself a Numb and Dumb shirt, and let's pour a glass of wine, watch some Numb TV, and dumb it up. Okay, it's book club day, and this time we did Fannie Flagg's The All-Girl Filling Station's last reunion. We have a discussion about this. I really like the book for lots of reasons, and the girls liked it too. The ladies liked it too, but you know, we have notes. So we'll talk about our notes. So I hope you enjoyed that, this discussion. We're also coming up is Where You Go Is Not Who You'll Be. It's a book about finding a college or helping your son or daughter find a college. So if you want, you can read this book and read along. We're going to release that episode in late August. Thank you for coming back every week. I thank you for the emails saying I don't actually read the book, but I still like the discussion because that's kind of cool. Thank you very much for doing that. I hope you enjoy this book club, Fannie Flagg's The All-Girl Filling Station's last reunion with Cathy and Kirsten. I would like to start this episode with a gross out story. Are you ready? I have a gross out story.
I don't know.
I don't know
how to answer that question.
Seriously, I have not taken any Dramamine to prepare myself for this.
I need to get it off my chest.
Oh, boy.
So you're going to get it. You ready?
Oh, great. Okay.
Okay. You know, I have a rat infestation in our house. We have rats in our basement because that was the cat condo. I had the cat food and the cat litter in the basement. And all of a sudden I start seeing pellets, and I'm like, uh-oh, let's move the cat out of the basement, trap the rats, get rid of the rats, right? Can't get rid of the rats. Trapping them, they're dead, they keep coming. Find out I left the cat's litter box down there, and it is a corn-based litter, and they're eating his litter.
Ew.
Oh,
gross.
They're eating his poop. They're eating his everything.
So gross.
I discovered this and trapped some rats before we left for our trip. But I really couldn't clean up anything until yesterday because I've just been freaking swamped. So it's been hovering over me that there's this disgusting mass of rat shit in my basement. So last night, I'm like, I'm doing this. I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. I'm going to do it. So Georgia calls and says, is there anything I can help you with? And I'm like, you're not going to want to help me with this. But this is what I'm doing. She was like, oh my God, I would love to. And so would my friend Daisy and Sophia. So I know, bizarre. They're bizarre. So we all put on masks and gloves and cleaned the basement and found the 2 holes they were coming in. And I clogged the holes and put the steel wool and then clogged the holes. And so hopefully I've got them at least not coming in the basement. I'm not stupid. I know they sometimes eat through other parts of the house, but at least I've stopped that. For now, the exterminator's coming tomorrow. This morning, I have therapy. I'm in my office.
Oh, no.
On my computer. And you know how you cross your ankles and then you tuck your feet up under your chair? My foot rolled over something.
Oh, my God.
I was like, what was that? So I kicked it out from under my chair. It was half of a rat.
Oh, my God.
It was half of a rat. It was half. It was the lower half. Oh, I can't even think about it. And I was like,
my God.
oh my God, I just rolled my foot over half a rat. So clearly my cat caught a rat, brought it into my office, and bit it in half because I found the front half too.
Oh, gross.
I found it after I was cleaning the back half. Can you believe that? I rolled my foot over it and then kicked it with my foot to see what it was because it was crunchy and I didn't know what it was. I almost died. Is that horrible?
That's horrible.
That's horrible. My therapist was on Zoom with me going, and I was like,
now your therapist needs therapy.
You know, she was like,
discuss.
she's like, everything stops. Clean it up. Take your time. So I'm running around the house going, oh my God, and cleaning it up. And I sit back down and I go, Jackie goes, I don't really know how to proceed. This has never really happened before in a therapy session. No one has like discovered half a rat under their chair. I'm not, well, okay, let's just see where this goes. I was like, oh my God. Most bizarre therapy session ever. We talked
Wow.
majority of the session about my rat infestation.
Oh my God.
Can you believe that happened this morning?
Oh gosh, man.
I can't shake it.
Yeah,
I know.
no.
She doesn't have
How are
cats.
you not like rubbing your foot
Oh.
like 3,000 times, right?
La, la,
like
la,
just
la,
to
la.
like get rid of that sensation.
It was
That's
so
a literal
Ew.
horror movie.
It was
Yeah.
so bad. Like I
Yeah.
looked down
Oh,
and was like,
God.
"Oh my God!" My whole body shuddered. I almost fell out of my chair. It scared the shit out of me. It was half a rat with his big rat tail.
Oh my God.
It was
Fucking rats
so
are so gross.
disgusting.
Oh my God.
And then Jackie's never had a cat, so she was like, "How did it get in half? How is it in there in half?" And I went, "Oh, clearly the cat brought it to me. It's in my office."
Right.
She's like, this is some Stranger Things shit. Like, what's
Exactly.
going on?
I was like, cats bring you gifts. Like, if he just caught a rat, he would have put it anywhere in the house. This was intentionally brought to me.
Yes.
It's in my office.
Yeah.
And my office is out of the way for him. There's like 3 rooms he could have dropped it in on his
Yeah.
way. That was a gift. He was bringing me a gift. He just cut it in half. I don't know. So maybe I can have a snack now, snack later. I don't know. It's disgusting. It was terrible. It was no way to start your day. It was not a good way. Has anything like this
Oh
ever
my
happened to either of
God.
you ever?
No,
Thank God.
God.
It is not. Thank God.
No. Ew.
I mean, I've had a lot of dead critters in my house from all
Yeah.
the cats I've had, but I've never inadvertently like
No.
stepped on one or rolled my foot on one
It's like
or
The Godfather, like
Yeah.
waking up with a horse's head in your bed.
yeah.
Stephen put his hand on one in our attic like a
A
couple
dead
of years
one?
ago. Yeah. He
It's
like,
so freaky.
he was so freaked out by it.
It's so freaky.
It was
I was so jumpy in the basement. We were moving stuff. And before we get it moved, I go, "Ah!" And all the girls would go, "Ah!" It'd be like a black cord, like to the coffee maker. So we kept moving things, going, "Ah!" Oh, it's just a power cord. Thank God. Because I just expected a mouse or a rat at any
Yeah.
minute to be in any corner because I didn't really know how they were getting in.
right.
So I was like, well, did they get in and get trapped somehow?
they're-
Did they come in the
they're
front
still
door and they're
there.
stuck? But no, I found 2 very clear, obvious portals
Yeah.
that I have clogged. But oh my God. I was like, that is probably one of the worst things I've ever experienced. It was so
Yeah.
gross.
That is disgusting.
I mean, so anyway, that's how my day started. I was like, I've got to tell you this because I haven't told anybody.
We don't need caffeine after that.
No, right? I
You're
can't go to my
perfectly
hairdresser
awake.
and go, guess what just happened to me? I know you're going to cut my hair, but wow, what a morning I've had. Want to hear this one? I was going to say that to him in the front of the
God.
salon. Anyway,
Gross.
we read a Southern book or a book by a Southern author while we were in Wedowie with the Girl Scouts. Fannie Flagg, what's it called? I never remember the name of this.
It
book.
has the
All
longest
Girl
title.
Filling Station's Last Reunion. I think it's a terrible title.
I think it's a
Yes.
It's a terrible title.
Agreed.
title. Terrible title.
It does not tell you what the book is about,
No.
and it's not an accurate representation of what ends up happening in the book.
I agree. I think this book was about way more than I expected. What did you think about this book? Do you not remember or
I do have a hard time remembering. I feel like I've read several books since this one.
I feel like
but
I've lived a lifetime since
when-
I read this book.
I do
well, you should have
remember-
reread it last night. What
I
are you
mean,
doing, ladies?
Seriously.
No.
Yeah, it
I
was not
do-
what I was expecting.
I do remember thinking, and when I sort of like was flipping through it right before this,
Mhm.
The main character, I remember thinking like she just made me chuckle. She's like this bumbling Southern, like old woman that just made me chuckle. Like I could just picture this.
You mean the
Woman.
mom or the daughter?
Well, both of them were funny, but I was thinking about the daughter.
The
Suki?
daughter.
Yes.
Suki, yeah.
Like running around, like the opening scene where she's like runs from one birdhouse to the other to like get there faster than the birds. I was like, who fucking does that?
Yes.
Like it was,
People do.
it was, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was super, I don't know about relatable, but realistic.
Uh-huh.
And
Um,
that character and the humor
and-
in it is what I expected of the book, but the
Yeah.
rest is not what I expected.
Right.
I've actually never read anything by her, so I didn't know what to expect, but
I've never read anything
that was
by
my
her
first takeaway, actually, was that was I thought it was going to be really light and funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then she ended up sort of annoying me. I wish she were stronger.
Who, Suki?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah. You still haven't told me what you think about this book. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Were you entertained by it?
I was definitely entertained by it.
Mm-hmm.
There were parts of it that I thought were funny. There were parts of it that I thought were slow and were a little frustrating. Some of the characters were frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Who was frustrating?
She was frustrating
Suki?
in her search,
Mm-hmm.
or lack of search, her indecision, her inability to speak up to her mom.
Mm-hmm.
I found frustrating at certain points. I don't know.
Okay.
Sort of my
I
initial
agree. I thought it was very
takeaway.
frustrating that she did not speak up to her mom, and like to find out that she's adopted and that she's 60 years old and it's never been mentioned
Mm-hmm.
by her mom, and then to be so afraid of upsetting her mom. I just thought, seriously, like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
just do something already. Just, this is your life. This is your life story. And, you owe it to yourself to find out about yourself.
Mhm.
And yeah, I found that frustrating. I think it was, in terms of what did I think of it? It was chosen because we were looking for a lake read. I think it was a lake read.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was a good lake read. I thought it was good, but not great.
Mhm.
Part of it is that, like, I'm done it and I don't really remember a lot because it wasn't, but there are parts of it, that definitely resonated. Honestly, what resonated the most is Suki running around to her different bird feeders and wanting to protect the little birds. I was like, oh my God, I'm becoming her. I'm totally becoming her. I'm not doing that yet, but I was like, that's a good idea.
Mhm.
Like, throw the big birds off of the scent of the little birds
So they can get what they
feeder.
need.
Cause I feel very defensive. I've, like, in my old age, I'm suddenly a backyard birder, and I'm
Mhm.
like, just totally, I am. Richard got me binoculars for my birthday.
How funny.
And, like, cause I'm so invested in the birds in our neighborhood and in our backyard. And we have our second, nest of finches.
Aw.
And they're going to be ready to fledge in a couple of days. And
Aw.
I'm just, like, obsessed with watching these nests, like watching the eggs hatch and them grow, and just seeing what a great mom. Like, I'm so proud of the little mother finch. She's such a good mom. And so yeah, I related to that. I'm like, oh yeah. So at the very beginning I was like, oh, I'm going to be into this.
Yeah.
And then I liked some of the places that the book went, and then some of it I just thought,
Yeah.
overwrought. The whole thing about the friend who has, like, the life coach,
Mhm.
Edna Yorba Zorba,
yeah.
or whatever. I was just like, okay, I already don't believe in it. That's a ridiculous name. That's
Yeah.
I loved it. I was
did?
like, yes, like, it's so absurd. Like, what was it, Yorba Borba or whatever? I was like, who is named that? Who, like, possibly could be named? I don't know. I thought it was ridiculous.
I don't know. There's a lot of kooky names like that in the South.
Maybe.
Rip Torn, very famous actor named Rip Torn. It's like there's stupid names like that all over the South. But well, here's what I thought. I knew these people. I grew up with these people. And I wondered what you thought of these people, because I know grown women who do not speak up to their mom. I grew up with women exactly like Suki, but she did speak to her mom in that she married the man that mom didn't want her to marry. So there's certain life decisions she made that were her voice. And then there's certain life decisions you make where your voice is disrespectful in a certain way in that culture. That's the way I experienced these two characters, that her mom's old. She doesn't need to cause her any trouble. It won't make any difference anyway. I'm going to go figure this out on my own. I understood those women. It may not be the way I would handle it. But I understood the dynamic because I've watched those women like her mother, and they are like a force of nature. They are, unmanageable sometimes. Like there were a couple women that ran the churches in Bowden, Georgia, where you did not say anything other than what you knew they wanted to hear. There was no going against them. They were older. And you go, well, she don't need to know what I really think. Tell her what she wants to hear and let's move on with our day. You know what I mean? Because they just ran the whole thing. They ran the whole town. And to me, her mom was that woman. Mm-hmm. So I know that woman very well. And that's part of the South that as an adult, I understand better. But as a child, I didn't understand why you're not honest with each other. But the not being honest sometimes was to save feelings or to save face or to not embarrass someone. So it looks to me like you're not holding them accountable. But really what it is some grace. So my perspective was there's part of her that gave her mom some grace to just let her mom believe everything's fine, everything's happy, she's old, what does it matter anyway? I'm going to spend the last years of my mother's life torturing her because I was adopted. I'm going to figure this out on my own. That was kind of where I came with that. And she did have her own voice in that she did marry this guy that her mom didn't want. Mm-hmm. But I thought the book was great. I loved Linda Yorba Warba, whatever, because I know I was just trying to think there was somebody, my dad's dad had two friends that were brothers. I've been saying their name for days because they were brothers that had ridiculous names like Rip Torn. And now I can't remember their name, of course. Not because of this conversation. They just come to mind because they have the most ridiculous names. But hopefully they'll come to me during the course of this podcast. But so all that did make sense to me. There's so much quirkiness in the South that's actual. Like that's just how it is. And everybody in the South kind of gets a kick out of it and is proud of that quirkiness. Now, her life coach telling her to do all that stuff was a bit far-fetched, but not really either. There was just part of it that I thought I could totally see this. And the whole time I was reading the book, I saw it as a movie. I saw it like a league of their own, like a step back into a place that we're not in, that we're not familiar with. And I loved that she told the story of the women who flew planes in World War II without shoving it down your throat that this is something that should be talked about. She told a lovely fictional story based on factual people. And I thought that was, I didn't know those women existed. I had no idea women flew planes in World War II for the government and that they had no government benefits. They had no recognition from the government. No one said, hey, we couldn't have done this without this group of women who did this exceptional job for our country. And then as soon as it was over, we were like, bye-bye, go back to raising babies. I mean, there's other examples of women doing those jobs in other places in the world during World War II, but I had no idea that women flew planes in that capacity. And as I was reading this book, I was like, I don't understand why this isn't a movie. I don't know why this isn't like The Help meets A League of Their Own. So all these Southern women, and some of the women from Wisconsin are not Southern, but it's of a certain era, you know, that we don't remember all the time, that we don't think about the context of, oh no, women did very little. And these women ran a filling station and then flew planes for the government. That part, albeit fictional, I thought was an amazing story to tell.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought when I read it, it read more like a movie. It was very visual. It was very like, very cinematic. And yeah, absolutely. That story, and honestly, even separating the stories, even just telling the story of the women from who were flying the planes in the war, that could have been its own story too, or it could be its own movie.
And Fritzy getting out of her hometown by being this wing walker with this random guy that just barnstormers. Did you guys ever see Barnstormers when you were kids?
No.
Oh, they came to Bowden. Oh, they would come and land in a field and you just flock over there and take rides and pay $20 or whatever for a ride on a plane, open airplane, like with 2 seats in it. Happened all the time when I was a kid. So when they were talking about that, I was like, I know exactly what they're talking about. They just hopped from small town to small town and gave out rides. And I guarantee you my kids don't know what that is. And it was something a lot of people did. I mean, we saw them probably a couple times a summer.
Wow.
And so I don't know, for me, not the best book I've ever read. It's not the most dynamic book, but I was really entertained. And I think partly because I'm from this culture somewhat, and just the historical piece. I'm not a historical fiction person. I don't really like historical fiction. But for whatever reason, even though this isn't as much about the semantics of the flying, it was enough of it that I got a sense of the scope and the scale of what these women did that I thought was really cool. I did not like the reunion as much. I wanted it to kind of end after she meets Fritzy.
Yeah. I agree.
I wanted it to be over there, but it wasn't. That was my complaint. I was like, okay, now we should be over now. But they kept going, and then there was a reunion, and then she made the bird feeder, and she became a millionaire with this bird feeder. And I was like, we don't need any of this. Now this is like everything's tied with a bow.
Yeah.
Everything's tied with a bow. And I was like, I don't really want everything tied with a bow. But
that's a good point. That always and leaves me with a bad taste in my mouth when everything has been tied in a bow at the end. Then sometimes I end up feeling like I didn't like a book as much as I enjoyed it when I was reading it.
Yeah,
I was into it. But yeah, that was
everything tied with a bow.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that actually was annoying. Like the bird feeder thing, like all of that. You're like, really? That you don't need to prove that she found her voice, basically.
Yeah, because she and also she didn't need to become a millionaire in order to have an arc. Like her character already had an arc.
Yeah.
That just, even going to learn about her past
going to
was an arc for her.
Yeah.
Like that was a big thing for her.
Yeah. It was huge. And meeting Fritzy and learning Fritzy's what her life was like after she flew and I knew she wasn't Fritzy's baby. I was like, she's not her. She's her sister's for sure.
Yeah.
So for me, that wasn't a big
100%. It was
shocker.
Yeah.
Right.
But I thought too, there's Suki. What an interesting character. Her mom, what an interesting character. Fritzy and all three or four of her sisters.
Yep.
What
they
fast
were
could you?
interesting.
I kept going, what actors would play these people and how delicious would it be? Because there's young women, there's middle-aged women, there's old women, and how delicious it would be to watch a movie with all these women with this dynamic story about adoption, about the war, about women's roles, about a dynamic with a mother-daughter. I thought it was very rich in that way, that these characters were not a character you'd just pick up any book and read. Yeah. They were very specific to this story even. And I liked that Fannie Flagg created. And these characters don't look like the characters I know from Fried Green Tomatoes. There's a little bit of similarity in Fritzy and the girl in Fried Green Tomatoes that was played by, what's her name? The blonde, not Mary Louise Parker, but Mary Stuart Masterson. So they're free spirits and wild and can't be tamed. Okay. But they look a lot different. The core was the same, where she has this wild, free spirited, can't be tamed person. But the matriarch in this story, the mom and the daughter, I don't remember any characters like that from her other books. So I've not read her other book. I've only seen Fried Green Tomatoes. So I'm really kind of talking out of my ass, but I couldn't see enough of a similarity to think that she's repeating herself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree. I read it, but it was so long ago that it's not worth talking about. But it did not feel like it was a repeat.
Yeah.
It was like a similar flavor.
Yes.
But not,
A similar flavor is a good way to put it, because the South is one flavor. And, I recognize these people for 100% of people that I grew up with in Bowden, these women that I observed as a younger person, these dynamics of mother-daughter, where a mother is the belle of the ball and runs the show, and the daughter's maybe not the belle of the ball, and maybe the mom doesn't want her to be, she is where she's gonna be because the mom is just a bit much. I definitely recognize that, probably from my own life too, but I've seen that woman all around town. There's a couple women in particular that I have in mind from my hometown where I go, oh yeah, this is totally that dynamic. Totally. So anyway, that was my takeaway from the book. I enjoyed it. I don't know that I would read it again.
Right.
But I actually recommended it to somebody who I thought should make it into a movie. I sent it to someone and went, I think that you might be interested in looking at this. I'm sure Fannie Flagg has a million. She could make any movie she wanted anytime, this author. But I don't know. This one particular person I thought might be really interested in it. So we'll see what they think about it. But I don't know. So many fantastic women characters and a great female story with that flying story. It kind of blew me away, that flying story, that existed.
Yeah. I had no idea that existed. Not surprised by any of it, but I had no idea.
No idea.
That.
Then our Emma, our young lady, our college-bound young lady, she was done with her book and was saying, oh, I don't have anything to read. And I just finished it and said, well, you could read our book, but it's about a bunch of older women. I don't know if you'll be interested. And she read the whole thing and she really enjoyed it.
Yeah. She said she did. Yeah. Boxcar. That was my grandpa's friend's name, was Boxcar. His name was Boxcar. Rip Torn, Boxcar. And he had a brother that was, last name was Carr. And it was also something ridiculous like Boxcar, like train car, but not. And where you're like, who names their children Boxcar? Right? But they did. Nice guy. He was a really sweet man. I can't think of the rest of them. There's a bunch of them like that in the South. For Yorba, Lorba, and Linda, Georgia, whatever her name was.
Whatever her name was. I thought it was hysterical.
Anyway.
Yorba Zorba. Is that what it was?
Yorba Zorba. I think so.
Was, yeah.
Yorba Zorba. Linda Yorba Zorba.
Yeah.
That's like someone named Chris naming someone the last name Chris. Do you ever know anybody like that? This is Chris? No?
Yeah, someone's not Chris, but...
yeah, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But that's married. That's different than your mama named you Boxcar. Well, right. I wish I could remember what his brother's name was, because I was always like, I can't believe you guys are named that. That's so crazy.
Sidecar.
Something like that, really. Yeah, where I was like, what? Anyway.
Wow.
Is this the shortest book club ever? It's been like 15 minutes. We got to talk about more than this. There's an interview in the back with her and James Patterson. Did you read that?
I did not.
You guys are such underachievers. I was desperate. I had not yet visited the small house in the middle of Wedowee full of smut. So I didn't yet have, it was an interesting interview. They're clearly very good friends.
Don't think I read
She and
that.
James Patterson, they're both Southern. And that was kind of cool too. I've never read any James Patterson. Have you?
I have.
Yeah.
You have?
I have.
Long time ago.
I didn't read any of the originals, but this crime writer who I like, suspense writer, Candace Fox. She's Australian, and she writes really ballsy, suspenseful, like they're, over the top, but like murdery stuff, but really, really gutsy, violent books. And James Patterson, who is like the most prolific writer in the history of writers. I mean, he just has a ridiculous
He turns out books. Like,
yeah, you go to Barnes and Noble and it's like
yes,
like he's just like lining the shelves. But he also does a thing where he co-writes books, and I totally see what happens. This is how I imagine him. Like, he calls up Candace Fox. She's like this amazing award-winning author in Australia. He's read one of her books and is like, oh yeah. He calls her up. How'd you like to write a book with me? She's like, great. He's like, okay. It's probably like 90% profit for him, and whatever, because he's this huge name. And he's like, okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Sidecar and Boxcar are brothers. They rob a bank and then blah, blah, blah. But then the serial killer is in the bank at the same time, whatever, like some outlandish thing. And he's like, what do you think? And she's like, great. Can they have a sister named Train Car? Sure. And then like she goes, and this is just how I'm envisioning their partnership. But I think that she probably writes it. She sends him a pass. He reads it and he's like, oh yeah. And then he adds like a little dialogue here, or a little something there, and whatever, because there's no way any human can possibly write as much. I mean, he would have to literally not even sit on the toilet. Like he would
Either that or they just literally publish anything that he writes, like any first draft or whatever.
But he's like,
His
he
grocery
has
list.
all of
Maybe, whatever.
these like co-written things. So he has like a whole bunch of co-written projects plus his own projects. I mean, it's just like, it's an absurd amount.
I wonder if he has ghostwriters.
Oh, yeah. Well, but that's what I'm saying is that even these co-written ones are basically ghost written. I think that they're, 90% written by, and he's like, he slaps on his name. He's like, oh, let's change train car's name to something else. You know what I mean? Like he puts a stamp on it and then it's like signs off on it. I don't know how it really works, but I'm just saying. But so because I love her so much and I want to read everything that she's written, I have read her books with James Patterson.
Are they good?
Yeah, I really like Candace Fox. They are her books with James Patterson are like, he has a brand. It's like over the top ridiculousness, but it's fun.
I've never read his books.
Yeah, I haven't read his like solo.
What did he write that I would know?
Probably
Prince of
nothing.
Tides?
Like
Who wrote Prince of
No,
Tides?
that's Pat
no.
Conroy.
Like
Same thing. I'm just kidding.
it's like he does like a character and he does a series of like 15 or 20 books with this like one detective. And then he has like a female detective that's a different series.
There's
and,
definitely been like movies of his books. I just can't think
I'm
of.
sure.
James Patterson.
But he also, do you know what?
But
He also
there's-
wrote middle grade books. These
Oh yeah. I
Jackie
never read those.
Ha-Ha, which I read
Midnight
with my
in the
girls.
Garden of Good and Evil.
What?
He did not write
He
that
didn't
book.
write that.
No, he
That's
didn't.
not James Patterson.
Okay.
It's definitely not James Patterson.
James Patterson, The President is Missing.
Yeah.
That
Along
sounds
Came
more
a
accurate.
Spider.
With
Along
like,
Came a Spider. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a movie.
Run, Rose, Run.
No, I don't know.
Fear No Evil. Kiss the Girls.
Yeah. Kiss the Girls was a movie. That was
Yep.
an Ashley Judd movie.
The Lake House. The Horsewoman. The Noise. The Russian.
The Lake House. Clearly, we need to read The Lake House.
Right?
Yeah, right.
I
I think we didn't read it when we were there.
Oh my God, yes. Do you know what? We didn't even tell the story of the horrendous spider at the lake house.
Oh my God, the big spider.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
It was
It's almost as bad as the rat.
I didn't think twice about that spider. It didn't touch me. I just saw a photograph.
I was
that's true.
okay. Like,
Yeah.
let me paint a picture. I'm sorry. I was like
I'm glad I
taking
did not
pictures
see
of
it.
girls fishing, and so I held on to like the post and leaned around and crouched down, squatted down. Was taking a picture, and then Emma's like, Kirsten, there's a really large spider there, and honestly, the way these girls go on about spiders, like
Yeah.
especially my daughter is like the biggest culprit of it.
Mine is a close second.
Oh my God. Like they talk about spiders as if there's infestations of spiders. And like, honestly, I didn't even see a spider.
And
Maybe
they're
these things-
T-Rexes.
Yes.
Yeah. They're going,
Yeah.
she's, there's a really big spider. And so in my head, I'm like, okay, her version of a really big spider. It's probably a daddy long legs,
Yeah.
something that I'd hold in my hand
Right.
and go, okay, move along, little feller. I looked over. The goddamn spider was larger than the size of my hand.
Oh my
like
God.
it was enormous. It took up the entire post.
Yeah.
It was huge.
Oh
I
my
mean, it was
God.
an enormous. It was hairy. Like it had hair on its legs. Like it was a traumatic spider incident. And your dad, badass that he is, like scooped it up in a net and flung it off into the woods. And everybody was like, "Oh my God, that's the biggest spider I've ever seen." And your dad's like, "Oh, that ain't the biggest spider I've seen." It was just like,
Well, the biggest spider I saw had a saddle on it. I rode it down the street. That's probably what
Totally.
he would say.
and Vivian's like, so your dad like launches it into the woods, and Vivian is watching it.
Yep. Okay. We'll take it out. Take her last name out.
So
My dad launches it.
your dad launches the spider, and Vivian watches it like its arc into the woods, and she's like, "Well, I guess I won't be taking a hike."
And I'm done. That's hysterical.
Never going there again.
Nope. Oh my God.
That was an
I
enormous
forgot about the
spider.
big spider.
Yeah.
The big spider.
I forgot about that. What else did we forget? We probably forgot a million things that we'll get halfway home and go, oh yeah, and this.
A million things.
Oh yeah,
It was
and
so
this.
much fun.
It was really fun. So what have you been reading in the 3 or 4 reads since this? What else have you been reading?
Good question.
Good. Okay. So anyway.
Yes. So nothing was that good, actually. I haven't
Nothing.
read anything that was like just amazing.
I read Where the Crawdad Sings, and I have notes on that book. I have some
yeah.
notes. I have notes on that book.
Oh.
I liked it, but I have some notes on that book too. And I do not like the casting of the girl in this show that's coming out.
Who did they cast?
I don't know, but I don't like it.
Oh.
I watched the trailer and I went, oh, she is just not raw enough. She's just not
Oh, interesting.
wild
I haven't
enough.
seen the trailer.
She's not raw enough. She looks still like a city girl they put in this
the woods.
role because she looks like the role. She does look like the girl, long dark hair,
Yeah,
skinny.
yeah.
But her internal life was way too tame. Just from the trailer I saw. I'm making this statement based on a trailer. But I have seen the trailer a few times because I want so much to like it.
Yeah, well, honestly, it sounds to me what I am expecting. I haven't even read the book yet, but I know that it's a big, like, polished movie.
Mhm.
And it seems like polished is not really what they should have been going for.
Not for her character. No. Her character's pretty raw.
Yeah.
She's like a wild animal. She raised herself. Not a wild animal, but you know what I mean. She's not comfortable in a lot of places in the world. And
Or with a lot of people.
with a lot of people. And part of the trailer I saw, she was in town with someone and she was far too comfortable in her skin. And I went, dang it, I'm not watching that movie now.
Mm.
Shit. I really wanted to too. I liked the book, but I still was like, that her being in jail was a little far-fetched for me.
Oh, yeah.
It was a little too contrived. Like they were trying to make some conflict where, I don't know.
It had to go somewhere.
Yeah. I was like, really? There's no evidence here at all. This is ridiculous. This wouldn't really happen, is what my brain was thinking. But so you have no comments on anything I'm reading The Scarlet Letter. And I read the introduction to The Scarlet Letter is Nathaniel Hawthorne talking about why this is in a second edition. And it's like 45 fucking pages long. And then I'm reading this going, there's no woman adulteress in this story. This is awfully long. I think he's talking about himself. He's just talking about himself over and over again. Nathaniel Hawthorne is talking about his other Hawthornes, and one Hawthorne was a judge in the witch trials, and this Hawthorne, and I'm like, when do we get to the story? It was like 45 pages. And then finally the story started, and I went, this is so much more enjoyable than his letter to everybody.
On and on.
Oh my God. I thought I'd never get through it, but I was like, sure as the world is going to give me one piece of information as an introduction that I'm going to need for the whole book, and I won't have read it because I'm bored. And there was one piece of information that was interesting. Nathaniel Hawthorne was, I'm probably going to screw this up. So anybody, I'm sure lots of people listening to my podcast are huge Nathaniel Hawthorne fans. So for any of those people, I apologize. But he was the person who took the tax when you docked at the shipyard. You remember in Pirates of the Caribbean, where when they docked and the guy came and collected the gold for you to dock there? He was that. There was a certain title for that, but he was that until the law changed and that position was eradicated. But when he was in that position, he came across an old document about someone being made to wear that letter on their chest because of adultery back in the 1600s. And he came across it in his job in this tax collector shipyard position. And that's the basis for writing the fiction of The Scarlet Letter. And I was like, well, that's interesting. You could have said that in 2 paragraphs. I am 45. It was literally, the introduction was like 40 pages. And it's just him talking about how he can't believe how successful this book was. And this is how my life unfolded and my complete family history.
So basically, it was 45
in.
pages explaining why he writes fiction and not memoir.
Yeah.
And not,
in an
right. It was a
autobiography in
memoir
there.
about why he writes fiction and not memoir. Yes, basically. You may not want to read a memoir. I'm going to slide one in right in the beginning.
Yes.
And then
My life is not as interesting.
But I would have no writing career had I not had my life. So here's what I was like, okay. But I'm actually enjoying the book so far. It's kind of a good book. Georgia told me she hated it. She's like, why are you reading that? It's the worst book ever. I was, well,
when you're forced to read it, it's never as good.
Yeah, I'm not very far into it, but I don't want to put it down. So that's a good sign.
I think the last 2 books I had, I ended up like returning early.
No way.
Because I was like, ugh, I can't be bothered.
I've done a bunch of that too.
I've started doing that more. Like you gave me more permission to do that because I never used to do that.
You're 50 now, Kathy.
Why?
You just do it.
That's right. Exactly.
50
just
now,
forget
right?
it. I don't need to waste my time with this
remember
nonsense.
the book Girl Wash Your Face?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you remember how I said, I think I'm going to give that book to my daughter when she goes to college?
Yes.
I just bought that for her and several of her friends. I ordered it a few days ago and I haven't gotten it yet from Amazon. But I remember that being an appropriate book to give them, right? Do you remember that being an appropriate book? It was about mistakes she made in her 20s.
Yeah.
And kind of lessons learned and relying on her faith for some of her lessons. Not that I need my daughter to have that lesson per se, but anyway, I just bought it. I'm interested to see what they think about it. Now that they're moving off into adulthood.
If they read it.
If they read it?
Yeah.
Well, if they read it.
No, but you know what I mean? Like sometimes they're too like wrapped up in whatever and it's going to take them a minute. I know. Shocking. Right?
My kids are not wrapped up in anything. You mean Party Central?
No, right. No teenager going off to college is wrapped up in themselves in any way, shape, or form.
No. How's your teenager wrapped up in going to college doing?
He's doing okay. There's a little bit of anxiety right now because like housing is supposed to come out today and it hasn't come out yet. So there's like a lot of pacing, like rechecking. So I think it's becoming far more real now because he leaves soon.
He does.
So,
well, I got a good fun story for you. You ready? July 4th, Georgia's going to college with 2 people from our neighborhood, 2 girls that she's been friends with for a long time. They're not related in a friend group. They're just 2 coincidental separate friends. And we all kind of know each other. So we've started this mom text thread to kind of help each other because no information comes to the parents. All information goes to the child.
Oh my
the child
God.
will not let me see the get ready. The child will not let me see her portal. Cannot remember her email password. Cannot remember her PIN number. Cannot figure anything
Max last passed his on my computer. So I have access to his portal.
Oh, no.
Freaking God.
No, I don't have I don't have that.
Oh, yeah. It is a lifesaver.
I wish.
Because I think he would never make it.
Oh, I wish.
Like, I try to stay out of it, but I'm like, you're never.
Yeah, I wish.
Like, he probably wouldn't even have signed up for housing at this point.
Yes. Well, lucky for me, one of the girls in our group is very on top of it. One of the girls, not the mom. She is super on top of it. So she talks to her mom and tells her mom what she's doing. And then the mom texts the other 2 moms and goes, so this is what's going on. And the 2 of us are like, what? What's happening? What are we supposed to be doing? So thank God for that one mom. But on July 4th, the mom texted and said, everybody ready to sign up for classes tomorrow? And I was like, excuse me? Tomorrow? She said, yeah, tomorrow. Class is open tomorrow. So, yeah, I was just wondering if they were excited and how they were feeling about it. The other girl is all set. I go to Georgia on July 4th and I go, hey, when do you sign up for classes? She goes, I don't know. I said, I do. It's tomorrow. But you can't sign up for classes until you meet with your advisor. So remember a month ago when I asked you, have you set up your time with your advisor? Have you done that? Well, all the slots were full. Did you do any follow-up activity on that? No. Great. Guess what? It starts tomorrow. You can't even sign up for a class until you meet with an advisor. You've had a long time to get this appointment set up. I need you to go upstairs now and sign up for a time to meet with your advisor. That reminds me. Yeah, I think it was today. Oh my God, I hope she didn't miss it. So I bet she missed it. I bet she slept through it. Did you meet with your advisor today?
Real time.
Yeah.
So she was like, "Oh, no problem. I got a meeting for today at 11, and I'll get my classes signed up. Then I get my pen. You have to get a pen from your advisor so that you can go online and sign up for everything." I almost had a heart attack. I was like, "What have you done about a roommate?" She's just leaving it to chance. She just filled out her profile, and she's going to let them match her with whoever. And I'm like, "Oh my God, I do not know how you're going to make it." But I said to her yesterday, I was like, "Well, here's the consequence. The longer you wait to sign up for classes, the less good classes are available. So you may be in 7 a.m. classes your whole first semester, and that's on you because you didn't take the action to get the advisor to get signed up for classes. So choose the behavior, choose the consequence. We're right back where we were as a toddler. You have to take action. You have to know what you're supposed to do and take action on it. And I don't have any information. I would never have known, and you would never have signed up for classes had it not been for your friend who told her mom, whose mom told me. Can't function like that. I was like, do me a favor. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, just log into your portal and read it and take action. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, blow it off.
It's so stressful.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
But nobody helped me with any of my college stuff. I got it figured out.
Yeah.
So, I had a couple of semesters where I had really early, really shitty classes. And that's how you figure it out. But oh my God. Any hoodles. Almost had a heart attack on the 4th. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I also explained to her, I said, if you're not responding to these emails, they may think you're not coming. We've put our deposit down, but it's only $350.
Yeah.
It's nothing. They may go, oh, well, she's just not coming. So they give your spot away. I don't believe that will really happen. But I was trying to scare her into snapping out of it. Stop being this party. And because she's not going to school till late September, I don't think it's very real yet for her. So
it is very real because he leaves in 4 weeks.
I cannot believe that.
Like he's early August. So it's 4 weeks away.
Kathy, we had better plan something for the week he leaves for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We should plan drinks or dinner or barbecue.
We're both going to be
something.
gone, right?
I'm not going to be gone. Where am I going to be?
Aren't you going to be on
leaving?
your trip?
I'm going on a trip. I'm back the 11th.
You're back on the...
Yeah, he leaves on the 10th.
Oh, okay.
But you're going with him or no?
It's unclear.
Yeah.
Because we don't know of this housing. It's unclear. He has orientation starting the 12th. And he may be able to move in on the 11th. Mm. So we may leave on the 10th so he can move in on the 11th. Mm. That's the piece of information that I'd really like to know.
That'd be helpful.
That would be really helpful. So if not, then he will go do this orientation for 2 days and then we will move him in on the 15th.
Okay.
So those are the two.
So I'll be back by the time you're back from him.
Yeah.
Me too.
Good. So we can take you out, do something nice.
Watch me like sob into my margarita.
Fine. Totally fine. Yes. Wow. You can come here.
Appropriate.
And we can go in my backyard and sob about it because that is completely appropriate. So I know that you know about this Bed Bath & Beyond thing.
Uh-huh.
I got some good information from another parent who's done it before.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. So for people listening, we should probably talk about this on our next book club, but whatever. Bed Bath & Beyond has a program where you could go on their website and click on the college your kid is going to, and they'll give you a suggested list of items to purchase. Then you can purchase those items either online or in the store, and they will ship it to the store closest to the college so that you can show up in that college town and go to that Bed Bath & Beyond and pick up what you've purchased.
Right. So you don't have to take it all with you.
That's right.
You're out of town.
The mom that called me last night to give me this information gave me a list of things. Some of them I did not think about. She said a mattress topper.
Yeah, I've heard that.
is a big deal.
Is a huge deal
Yep.
because they kind of, all mattresses kind of suck.
Yep. Mattress topper. She said overbuy those like 3M removable hooks and sticky things to stick. You can't put anything on the walls.
Yeah.
Overbuy. She was like, buy 10 times more than you think because you'll run out.
Okay, that's good information.
She said, go for a darker comforter because they don't want to wash them.
Yeah.
And it is their couch. It is their kitchen dining room table. It is their bed. It is their desk. She was like, don't buy anything light color. I thought that was really good advice.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to my note? Oh, here it is. She said at Bed Bath & Beyond to buy those space-saving hangers. To buy several packs of that. Most dorm rooms will give you the exact measurement from leg to leg of their bed so that you can buy appropriate underbed storage at Bed Bath & Beyond. So if you go on your website and see if you can get the exact leg to leg measurement, that way you can buy an appropriate underbed storage system.
Right.
She said she also bought risers for her daughter's bed.
We're not allowed to have risers.
No.
No, it specifically says you cannot raise your bed.
They probably fall. I would imagine the bed falls and breaks. Or
breaks the child.
Yeah. Or some combination of the two.
Right.
But yeah, she said that was important because I think the first college, they didn't have that leg to leg measurement and bought them that were too big and had to return them and they weren't in stock.
Super smart.
And she also said when you're purchasing items to think about toilet paper, paper towels, toothpaste, shampoo. That she said she's moved 2 kids into college. Everywhere is always out of all of that. So if you could pack a duffel bag if you're flying, pay that $25 for the second check luggage and get a 4-pack of toilet paper, just the basic necessities in that duffel bag. I
see.
You know
Don't wait until you get there
Don't
to get
get
that
it there.
stuff.
Yes.
Got it.
Get
Target's
it here.
gonna be sold out.
Yes.
Yeah,
She said literally when she moved her first daughter in, the shelves were completely empty at Target. Then she went to Walmart. They're completely empty.
Yeah. That makes
So
sense.
they're wiped out of everything. That's a basic need.
Especially if it's a big university, I would imagine, with every student moving in. Yeah.
Yeah. So she said 4-pack of toilet paper, toothpaste, even minor cleaning supplies, anything like that you can't buy at Bed Bath & Beyond that he's going to need day one to buy it and put it in a duffel and fly it out there with you or drive it if you're driving.
Right.
I thought that was really good pieces of advice.
Yeah.
That I hadn't thought about.
Great.
Yeah.
And Kathy's going to bring more to the table for our next book club.
Exactly.
Because you will have moved.
Right. I forgot we chose our next book
Yes, we
already.
did.
I was like, we have to talk about that, but I forgot we did this.
We chose our next book. It's called Where You Go Is Not Who You'll Be, An Antidote to the College Admissions Mania by Frank Bruni. Here it is.
Great book.
Yes, Kathy's already read it. I'm dying to read it. You're about to embark on this.
Yeah.
I'm starting early with Isla because Isla moves at a very different pace. Sometimes she needs space between assignments. She doesn't necessarily do her assignments slowly, but she's not a like hammer it out and get it done kind of girl. So she'll need to do one thing, take a break, do one thing, take a break. So we're starting with her in August just to kind of get to know each other, sort of. So I'm excited to read this book and see what it has to say. I've heard good things about it, not only from you, but from Susie, the college counselor, and from someone else told me they just read this book and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
I asked Jeannie and Margaret to come back and talk to me about their first full year of a child in college and break it down for me, but they are both traveling at opposing times. So I don't think I'm going to be able to get them till late August, but that's okay. That should be a good conversation too.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to reading that book. So can we commit to some kind of let's get Cathy drunk appointment
Definitely.
post August 15th?
Definitely.
It probably won't take a whole lot.
When you're back for sure. I go to orientation with Georgia on the 17th and then I'm back. But we should do that. You should plan a few things like that.
Yeah.
You should.
I haven't
really.
even started really thinking about that. Like I'm in the very planning mode.
Yeah.
Like we've got to buy all this stuff. We
Yeah.
have to like waiting for the roommate assignment. So I figure out who's bringing what, you know what I mean? Like
You should plan
Very.
a lunch with Parisa, a lunch with me, a lunch with Kirsten, all separated. Like every other
Right.
day, have a lunch with somebody, because that's what I'm going to do. October, I'm going to be like, okay, we all still have kids at home, which is
Yeah.
helpful, but I'm going to plan a few things right around when she leaves so that I'm busy.
Yeah, that's
You
a
know?
smart idea.
Because
My other kid is going to be like, I don't need you. She's going to be like, see ya, peace out. So I may become an empty nester.
Yeah, right.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about that.
Should-
We have the
yes.
same sort of older,
Yes.
younger dynamic going.
Yep.
We're like, you know what? When Vivian's ready for college, she's going to be like, bye. And I'm going to have to like hold money as a ransom, like to go, if you want money, pick up the phone and call your mother or like
Yeah,
visit us.
totally. Yeah, I know. That is another thing I'm anxious to hear about from Margaret and Jeannie, if they had any kind of like rules. You must call me every Sunday or whatever, I don't know. But I do want to have some kind of like, not so she feels controlled, but so we're both happy. You know what I mean? We
Yeah,
need to
some
both be
structure so
happy.
that you're not just pining away going, okay, she never calls or whatever, or vice versa. Like,
Yeah,
so that there's
yeah.
some sort of structure that you can both count on.
And a minimum expectation.
Yeah.
This is my minimum expectation. You can do more, but
Right.
at the very least, call me every Sunday or whatever it is. I need a recap. Text me every night before you go to bed and let me know you're in your dorm. I don't know what the parameters should be even for a college student. I never called my parents. I'm surprised my dad didn't like drag the river looking for me, dead body in the river as I was gone. And that's pretty normal and that's okay. But I don't know.
I don't know. It's very stressful as a parent. Like literally, can you imagine not talking to your child every day?
No, it's pretty, no.
Right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I know it happens, like your kid is away and whatever. Like there's certain periods where like you may not talk to your kid for a day or two, or they're traveling or whatever. But I can't even wrap my head around not having a conversation with him,
Right.
even if it's like, good morning.
Yeah, it's pretty dramatic to go from
It's-
living together
Yeah,
for 18 years, like seeing you every day, more or less.
pretty
and
much.
then-
Yeah.
Kaiser
To,
Soze.
like, Radio
and they're Kaiser Soze. They're just
right. Exactly.
right.
Oh, can we still love that movie now that Kevin Spacey is
Oh, I know.
It's hard, isn't
problematic?
it? It's hard.
God, I loved that movie.
Such a great fucking movie.
Yeah, I loved him in that movie too.
It's hard.
Yeah.
That's
it
an
is
interesting
hard,
debate.
right.
How do you separate the artist from the person?
I know, like Picasso. Like growing up, I didn't know anything about any artists, and then to find out that Picasso was really a horrible, horrible person. He was horrible to women. He was, I mean, it was really bad. So it's like, yeah, how do you separate that?
Do you separate that?
I don't know. I think it's easier with somebody like Picasso because they've been gone
'Cause he's
for
dead.
so long. But he's been dead for
Yeah.
decades.
Yeah,
100,
totally.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey's like next door. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like he's still around.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit harder to separate, to sort of say, well, that was in the past. And while that was a terrible human, he's
Yeah.
still a massively talented artist. Right? Like I don't know. I feel like
Has
it's
he
a
been
little easier.
convicted of what he's accused of? I mean, he's been accused of it multiple times in multiple different places.
I think in the
it's
court
on-
of public opinion, he's been convicted, but
in the court of law, has he been convicted? I don't know.
I don't think so. I don't know that anything was even specifically charged. I
Oh,
don't know.
something was in London.
Oh yeah, I don't
There
know.
were some charges brought up against him in London.
All I
I'm
know
not
is I want to
denying
see
that
that
it
movie again.
You wanna see that
I'm ready
movie?
to watch that movie again. I'm like, wow, I haven't watched that in a long time.
You haven't? We showed it. Charged with 4 counts of
Okay.
sexual assault in the UK.
in the UK, but nothing here.
I don't know.
That's
Maybe he
shocking.
just like British boys. Maybe he's
Maybe.
just that kind of creep. Yeah, I don't know. That's a really interesting question. I don't know what to say about that. You could break down so many people in
Yeah.
history who've been artists who have questionable behaviors. We could say the same thing about the president.
Well, yeah, non-artists too. Like, I mean, in general. But
JFK was not an honorable man in his marriage, but
Mm-hmm.
he's looked at and revered as one of the best presidents of our time. So how do you reconcile that?
yeah, but then there's a difference between adultery and like child abuse and like
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
abuse of women. You know what I mean? Like it's
You don't think it's abuse of women to just adulter all the time? He's abused his wife by being an adulteress. So to me, the thing I always struggled with is like Bill Clinton was a great president. He had at least one salacious affair that we know about, you know, but he's so discredited, extra D's in that, discredited, but JFK never has been. Why? Was it so different? Was it just 20 years
because
later?
we're living in the information age and we find out about everything. Like,
But even Clinton is different because, like, he's seen as an adulterer as opposed to somebody who abused his power over women. Do you know what I mean? Like, the charges are not the same.
Yeah.
Whereas you could be said, well, I didn't have a choice to say no because he's the president. You don't say no to the president, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was a very different time.
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, it would be looked at very differently if the president had an affair, I think.
Well, a lot of people
You know?
really have overlooked Mr. Trump's past behaviors, but then would never overlook someone else, perhaps. So, what is the standard? What is it?
Well, there is no standard. I think that's
there are
you know.
no standards anymore.
There are none.
It's all applicable. Just depends. Applicable. The multiple B's. I don't know. Interesting conversation, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
scary one to have a little bit because sometimes it's scary to have a conversation because sometimes conversations are you discovering what you really think. And sometimes you say the wrong thing to discover you actually don't believe that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then, but it's hard to say that.
Or you say the wrong thing and then later on realize, you know what, maybe that wasn't accurate. But like, how do you go back and fix that?
Yeah.
You know,
Nowadays.
absolutely. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to say, here's what I think. I don't really care about their private life, but I don't really know if that's a true statement. And then you're disregarding all these people who were hurt by their private life. But then we would have no artists. I mean, how many artists are completely pure people? That may be, obviously, crimes against children is a little different than a crime of passion or, being unethical with money. But it's still all a lack of morality, So then, I don't know. It's really hard to understand.
Right.
I don't understand a lot of stuff. With the Roe v. Wade being overturned, it's so upsetting. And at the same time, if your logical brain looks at it, you go, what they did was return the power to the state, right? Isn't that what the Supreme Court did, is return the power to the state? We just have states in our nation who don't agree with each other, who aren't on the same page. I don't agree with overturning Roe versus Wade. But I understand there's a part of me that goes, but the system says we have state laws and we have federal laws, and the Supreme Court tells us who governs what. So it's hard. It's hard to debate sometimes, I think. Because I don't think they should have overturned it. But at the same time, you go, but is that an example of them following the Constitution? Like, if you take the issue out of it, if the issue is not abortion, if the issue is something else besides abortion, and they're deciding whether this is a federal or state issue, then is that government piece working properly? Does that make sense? I wonder that sometimes with things that are very controversial. If you took the emotional, controversial piece out and looked at factually what's happening, is it the same weight? You know what I mean? It's just something I think about. I don't agree with that being overturned, by the way. I think it should be legal. I think a woman has the right to make a choice. I think it prohibits so many other positive things that places like Planned Parenthood provide for communities, especially communities that are underserviced. I mean, it's terrible that they're part and parcel. And why should they one affect the other anyway? They should get those services whether abortion is included in that or not. But it's so complicated. It's so difficult to know. And part of me goes, but I wonder if you take the emotion out, and you get down to the politics of it, it's hard too, isn't it? It's just something I think about.
Yeah.
Because I don't agree with it. I always try to find the other side.
Yeah.
To see if I can understand the other side, because there is clearly another side. I mean, if there were no other side, it would be a non-issue.
Right.
And I can't, in my morality and ethical person, just go, well, you're bad. I want to understand why their side makes sense to them so that I can try and meet somewhere. Do you know what I mean? How do you meet someone somewhere instead of just saying, you're wrong, I'm right, for either person? Because they're saying we're wrong and they're right. They're doing the same. You know, the two sides are doing the same thing. So is the compromise to put it back to states and go live in a state where this is legal, live in a state? Obviously, that's not possible. People just can't pick up and move across state lines. But I wonder if that's what the logic of it is. Does that make sense? Is that stupid?
It makes sense.
It makes sense. It's just the problem. It comes when when it was up to state, like slavery was up to states. And so when it involves another person not having like agency or, and which is also women like having agency over their bodies. It's basically saying that a certain person, whether it's in slavery, the color of your skin, or with Roe versus Wade, that, women, half of the population is not a complete human. Like we get to decide what happens to your body. That's when it's a problem, when it's left up to states, because my agency as a human shouldn't be left up to a state. It should be just undeniable.
A human right.
Yeah.
I guess that is the debate, right? Is an abortion a human right?
Well, I think I think that where emotion is coming into it is people thinking that it's like all these people killing babies instead of thinking first about the human who has been impregnated and their rights, like superseding those of.
It's very complicated, isn't it? Because if you think about it so I grew up in a very religious part of the world. So I can hear the people I grew up with saying, you chose to have unprotected sex. Obviously, there are exceptions. Obviously, there's rape and incest. And I don't think anybody denies that that's something. But if you chose to have unprotected sex, then you made a choice that this is the consequence for. So then why do you get to say, well, I'll just kill it? I think that that's the perspective from the place I grew up from. And I can't really say that's a bad perspective. You did make the choice to have sex without protection. And you do know that that causes pregnancy. So it's like, saying, well, I'm going to eat that 18th cookie. I know it's going to make me throw up, but I'm going to eat it anyway. Well, if you know it's going to make you throw up, then don't eat the cookie. Or have protected sex.
But it's also putting all of the onus on the woman when there's no consequence to the man who impregnates the woman. And this is all in this very theoretical idea of like, just unprotected sex, which we know that's not what a lot of the abortion debate is about. It's about women who have had miscarriages who require a D&C, which is a procedure that is technically an abortion.
Yeah.
But it is aborting cells in order to keep her healthy so that she doesn't get an infection and die from having a miscarriage that she didn't want in the first place. So it's like a lot of this, it's so theoretical.
And complicated.
Yeah.
It's very complicated. And the questions we're asked to make decisions, I think, as a society on black and white. And it's just so complicated, right? I don't want anybody to feel left out. I really don't. I don't want my family members at home to feel left out, because the community I live in has a different perspective. And I don't want my community to feel left out because my family has a different perspective. I want to find some common area where you can agree to function. I don't know why we can't find that and agree to function there. And even if that I always keep going back to the Constitution and go, why can't we agree on that? I mean, can't we all agree on that one thing? But if we can't, why? How do we get in this political discussion? It's your fault, Kirsten. You did it.
Definitely your fault.
Do you know what I mean? Why can't we even agree on that?
Because
like
people
when the
wanna
right
be-
to bear arms did not say the right to bear arms means you could have a musket.
people want to be right. They want to win. I think that's what our culture is these days. It's not about compromise. It's about I'm right and I want to win.
I hate it.
Yeah, I agree.
I hate it. I can't believe
Okay.
anybody who collects guns can really look at you and say, when they wrote the Constitution, they knew they were going to make AK-47s. There's no way. There's one purpose
Right.
for that gun. It should be in the military, if at all.
Mhm.
That's it. People in the public should not be walking around with that gun. I have 4 guns. None of them are that gun. They are a shotgun. They're 2 shotguns and 2 pistols. And they're all for home protection. And they're all things I'm comfortable operating and are locked in safes with thumbprint IDs. So, I mean, I don't know how I could get any safer and be a gun owner. And I'm all for owning guns, but no one should own that gun. And I can't believe anybody could say, no, that's my right to bear arms. You don't need to bear them kind of arms in your own house. You know what I mean? That's not how the Constitution was written, and you know it. They didn't even know what that, you know how long it takes to load a musket? Like 15 fucking minutes. By the time you get it loaded, the person's on you. That's why there was a sword on the end of it, so you can stab them before they got to you. But that's not where we live today. I don't know why we can't kind of, the same with human rights. We don't live today the way we lived with the Scarlet Letter when they wrote all the shit. I don't know. Anyway, it bothers me so much that we can't find common. There's got to be common ground. There's got to be. There has to be. But whose fault is it that we're not finding it?
Well, people have to be willing to find it.
Whose fault is that they're not willing to find it? Who can we blame?
Get to the bottom of it.
Who can we sue?
Yeah, totally Kirsten.
Who is it? Who is it really? Who did that? Who made us so divided? Not that it was one person. Maybe it was a thing. I don't like it. It's unnerving. I don't like knowing. Sometimes this is how I feel. If I brought people home to my family, everybody would hate my family. Not all my family, but some of it.
But
know
you
what I mean?
did bring us home
Yeah.
to see.
That was some of my family.
Yeah.
That's not all my family. But some of my family, you'd be like, oh my God, I can't even be in the room with you because you have such different beliefs. And neither belief is necessarily wrong. They're just very drastically different based on different moralities, life experiences, religious beliefs, cultural influence. I don't know. It's hard. No, I showed you the family I'm proud of. I'm just kidding. My dad's side is all good. I don't know about the other side. Lots of good people over there, but there's 1 or 2 where I'd be like, no, we're not meeting them today.
Oh, hey, there's one or two in every family.
Yes, there are.
We're not gonna meet them.
It's swept under the rug.
Yeah, right. Anyway. So book club next time. Is where you go is not who you'll be. I'm looking forward to reading this book. Thanks for doing this with me every month. Should we do it in August since we're halfway through July at this point? Late August? Is that
It
doable?
depends. Yeah. I can do late August.
Yeah, late August.
Yeah.
I can't do it before late August.
I can do
either.
that.
Is that good for you? Good.
Late
Okay.
August.
Late August. All right, late August, people. Read up, especially those people that have kids going to college. I have gotten several emails recently about how much people enjoy our book club and do not read the books.
That's awesome.
I've passed 1 or 2 on to you, but I keep getting them. So it makes me feel good. So I feel like if no one's reading the book, no one cares. But they're like, we just love to hear you guys talk about it. So
Or not talk about it.
or not talk about it. And Steve, moving on to a political discussion you did not intend to have. Was it a discussion? It was just me talking. But anyway, thank you for doing this. Thank you for the double header today. I appreciate that because I didn't want to not talk about our trip.
Yeah.
The longer we wait, the less you remember. So Thank you for
No.
doing double
I'm
duty.
already forgetting some of the classic lines.
Yeah, I know, right?
Right. We just got to get through it. We were trying to learn to play this game. By the way, they taught me how to play that game. We
Oh,
were
yeah.
so not doing it right. Like so massively not doing it right. It's actually really fun. Now that
Okay.
they taught me how to do it, I was like, okay, this is a really cool game.
We just built a puzzle.
And we built a grid. It was Quirkle, and we were like,
Didn't do it.
It's
right.
a
We've lined up the colors and the shapes.
I
Look
know.
at us.
Cha-ching.
We're like in third school.
Yeah.
It was stupid. So in the middle of it, we were trying to figure this out, reading the directions. No one could figure it out. And Kirsten goes, we've just got to get through it. And we just thought that was the funniest thing. My dad has repeated that line over and over the whole week. We've just got to get through it. We've just got to get through it. It was the source of a lot of laughter. So
Yes.
thank you. Well, we got through 2 podcasts back to back. Maybe we should do two back to back. I think I don't take enough of your time.
Oh boy.
Sorry. Something
Well, we're
in
gonna
my
have to
throat.
go on another trip if you want that to
Aw,
happen.
No.
shit,
Yeah, where are we
really?
going next then?
Right.
Solvang wine tasting? I don't know.
Right. Yes, no girls this time.
No girls.
No girls.
Just women.
Yes.
We can bring our own smut.
BYOS. Bring your own smut.
Yes, BYOS.
Seriously, I'm disappointed that we're not book clubbing The Duke Goes Down.
Should we go to do the Duke Goes Down?
No, because we've already done romance,
Yeah.
and it didn't end well for any of us.
Maybe we can read The Duke Goes Down and do a mini, like to spice up where you go is not who you'll be. We can go sidebar. The Duke goes
But if you
down.
go
And I mean,
down,
he really
it
goes
might
down.
be.
Do you know what that means, Leanne?
You know, if you get a college education, you will know that there's a double meaning.
No, we had some who do not yet have a high school education who know that there is a double meaning and wanted to educate me.
Well, they are in the gifted program in middle school, so they clearly get it. I cannot believe they were reading those books out loud. I think that's just adorable.
It's hysterical. Yeah.
Isla said, I didn't have to take a turn. I just listened. I was like, good. Okay, good. It's a perfect group for you. They just passed it around and you got to laugh and enjoy. Perfect. I didn't have to take a turn. I just listened.
She just had to get through it.
Right.
She just had to get through it. Just had to get through it. Oh, my God.
Oh man.
I hope they had as much fun as we did. I hope they
Oh,
have
they
as many
did.
memories as
Oh.
we do. And
I want to hear what theirs are.
Me
I am
too.
so fascinated. They have this whole shared photo album. I want access to that.
I know, right?
100%. 100%.
How do we get that?
With the dogs. Oh my god.
With the dogs.
Oh my
the
god.
dogs.
The dogs.
The dogs.
Yeah.
I forgot about
Their
the dogs.
feet.
They were barking. Forgot
There's
about the
probably 200 pictures of their feet in
Oh
that
my
album, and I can't wait to see. I don't get it, but
Do you think Lily's going to let you see it?
I don't know. I haven't asked her.
I haven't
should
asked
ask
her.
her.
I didn't know there was a secret, not secret, a separate photo
Oh
album.
my god, they kept saying, "Upload them to the album. Upload them to the album." Like every time someone would take a picture, all of them are in it.
How funny.
All
So-
these iconic pictures.
so many iconic pictures.
Uh-huh.
That's great. All right. Well, thank you, ladies, for book clubbing Fannie Flagg's The All Girl Filling Station's last reunion. And now, next genre. What's this genre called? College prep?
College prep,
maybe.
College prep for parents? Okay. And then think about what we want to do after this one if you have any ideas. Okay. Because I'm running low. All right.
We'll find something.
Yes, we will. All right. Till next time.